Dr. Louise Banks' voice can be heard at the beginning of the movie speaking to someone. From Hannah's infancy through her childhood and up until her early death from a terrible sickness, Louise and Hannah are seen in various stages of their relationship. Louise is a professor of languages and a linguist. The pupils' phones ring as she starts speaking to the small group of kids. Louise is prompted to switch on the news by a pupil. There is a news about unknown object landing on different parts of the world. Louise goes home and watches more news. Large extraterrestrial spaceships are reportedly landing in at least 12 different locations worldwide. The following day, Colonel Weber pays Louise a visit in her office and asks her to try to connect with the aliens using her knowledge of language. He asks her to translate the conversation between the aliens and their team. Louise says that it is impossible to translate from an audio file and that she needs to be there to interact with the aliens. Colonel Weber says he won't take Louise to Montana as he doesn't want to turn the site into a tourist spot. He then leaves to ask another expert in Berkeley. Weber arrives in a chopper at night to accompany Louise to the facility. She joins them and meets Ian Donnelly, a theoretical physicist. The team arrives at the Montana landing site, while the other 11 sites around the world have bases set up as well and are continuously updating each other on any progress. Louise and Ian are given hazmat suits in preparation for their encounter with the aliens. They are transported to the landing site afterwards. Upon arriving, the team begins their ascent towards the ship. There is a hatch that opens every 18 hours, which looks like an impossible climb without the proper gear. One guy throws a glow stick towards the entrance and lands on one of the walls, as if the ship has its own gravity. The team then proceeds to go inside. Louise, Ian, and several others are brought up to the top of the pod, where the lack of gravity allows them to stand before the glass-like barrier that keeps the aliens back. Two aliens appear. They look like huge tentacled creatures and are shrouded in a mist. Louise writes the word human on a board in an effort to get their attention. One of the aliens releases a dark cloud in the shape of a circle. Louise makes the audacious decision to take off her hazmat gear in an effort to win their trust. She puts her palm against the glass wall. One of the aliens mimics Louise's motion by extending a limb and pressing it against the wall. Louise then introduces herself by writing her name. The alien responds with another black circle pattern. After seeing this, Ian does the same and removes his hazmat suit and proceeds to introduce himself to the aliens. Louise asks the aliens' names and each of them responded with a black circle pattern. Ian decides to call them Abbott and Costello. The team decides to call the aliens heptapods, which comes from the Greek word hepta, meaning 7, and pod, meaning foot. Tensions rise around the country as uncertainty in the heptapods' intentions has sparked panic, causing people to loot and riot. The team keeps track of the symbols the heptapods make throughout the sessions to discover which symbols correspond to the words Louise has been teaching them, like love, time, etc. Louise starts to have visions of Hannah. While still seeing memories of Hannah as a little kid showing Louise a sketch of her parents in a TV show she made herself, Louise begins to have dreams in the alien language. Colonel Weber orders Louise to ask the big question now, ready or not. Louise prepares the question and asks them about their purpose on coming here to Earth. The heptapods respond with a message that is translated to use weapon, which generates tension among the other sites. General Shang of China orders his squad to divert from the predetermined course by stopping communication of the intelligence they gather to the other globe sites because he doesn't trust the aliens. A small group of soldiers plants a C4 explosive in an attempt to kill the aliens. Unaware that a C4 explosive was hidden within the vessel by some of the soldiers, Louise and Ian climb up there on their own. Louise asks what the heptapods meant by weapon, and they responded with the word technology. Louise then asks to give them the technology now, and Abbott taps the barrier as if it's asking her to come closer. Louise comes closer, and as she touches the barrier she sees another vision of Hannah. She can now write the heptapod's language with her own hands. Abbott starts to create a message with hundreds of tiny, scattered symbols. As the bomb is ready to detonate, Abbott drops Louise and Ian from the vessel as it explodes. Both are unconscious, but neither is seriously hurt. In the base camp, Louise wakes up after suffering a minor concussion. Louise explains to Weber that they need to go back to the ship and explain that the bombing was not their fault. As Weber explains that he has orders for retaliation, the ground crumbles and the ship began to ascend. China declares war against the aliens. General Shang delivers an ultimatum and gives the aliens 24 hours to leave the Chinese territory or they will face destruction. With a strike set to happen, Louise and Ian race to decode Abbott's message. Ian deduces that many of the symbols for time are scattered, but he can't exactly determine what it all means. While asking herself a question on what this particular symbol means, Louise sees Hannah in a dream where she is asking her a question about a deal that is a win-win for both sides. She doesn't know the answer, so Hannah walks away. Louise wakes up and finds that Ian has cracked something about the symbols. The symbols are talking about time and that it is just one of the parts of the code that was given to the 12 sites. Louise and Ian tells this to Colonel Weber and Agent Halpern and insists that they must talk to the other sites so they can work together. But Agent Halpern says it's too late for this as China already declared war against the aliens and Russia killed their own experts to keep their data a secret. Louise says that the aliens probably wants the whole world to work together, that's why the data was scattered, but Agent Halpern asks her how would they have everyone to play along and give up their data. To which Ian replies, "We offer ours in return," which he called a non-zero-sum game. After hearing this, Louise is taken back to the dream she had earlier and she answers Hannah's question. Louise races for the ship, and it sends a tiny pod to pick her up and bring her up to the ship. She enters the pod and it takes her to the vessel. She runs into Costello, who informs her that Abbott is perishing as a result of the explosion. Louise apologizes and asks Costello to send a message to the other sites. Costello replies by saying that Louise already has the weapon and that she should use it. Louise is confused and asks what their purpose is for coming to Earth. Costello says that their purpose is to help humanity now so that humans could help them in 3,000 years' time. Louise is then assisted by Costello in realizing that the heptapod's language was created as a tool or gift for humans. By understanding their language, they are able to see into the future. It is discovered that every memory Louise had of Hannah was a flash-forward rather than a flashback. Louise is then sent back to the ground. As they were about to leave the site, she sees another dream. Louise sees a vision 18 months into the future, where she met General Shang face-to-face, and he expresses gratitude for her work and efforts, which ended up convincing him just what the aliens' true intentions were. Louise asks General Shang how she was able to do it, and he replies that she called him on his private phone, and then shows her his phone number. Using Halpern's satellite phone, Louise calls Shang on his direct line. The vision continues and Shang tells Louise what she exactly said on that call, which was the dying words of Shang's late wife. As the future Shang tells her the exact words that she said, Louise is saying it to the present Shang. The Chinese military decides to stand down as reports start flooding in from all over the world. Every vessel leaves the planet in a foggy mist as it rises from the surface. Ian and Louise watch them go. Ian claims that meeting Louise was the best part of the entire adventure rather than encountering the aliens. Louise then sees more visions of herself with Hannah, but this time with Ian in the picture. They are gonna marry and eventually have Hannah as their child. The movie ends with Ian and Louise embracing each other in the present. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a new release. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.